composite functions, okay? When one function is followed by another function, the result is a composite function. Applying a function g after applying a function f is written three different ways. This is what's called g after f of x. Once again, g after f of x, and another way of saying g after f of x. But let me explain what that means, okay? Consider two functions. F of x equals x plus 3, g of x equals x squared plus 1. For example, if I do the x values, if I do x equals 1, x equals 2, x equals 3, x equals 4, I get the following answers. The answer for 1 is 4 because you're adding on 3 every time, aren't you? The answer for 1 turns into 4, the answer for 2 turns into 5, the answer for 3 turns to 6, the answer for 4 turns to 7. So once you find out what the answer is, so for example, if I was to write this down, g f of 1, you find out what the answer of f of 1 is. Once you know what the answer of f of 1 is 4. Then you replace 4 into the g function. And the g function would be 4 squared plus 1, which is 17. It just means get the answer of the first function, then whatever this answer is, put it into as the input of the second function. Another example would be 4. F of 4 is what, guys? F of 4? What's the answer for f of 4? 7. And then we have to find out what g of 7 is. G of 7 is 7 squared plus 1, which is 50. 49 plus 1, which is 50. It's quite easy. Now, there's another thing you can do that you might not be aware of. You can combine both functions into a general rule. A general rule that will send this answer here directly over into this answer here without no middle part. Let me show you how to do this. What you do first is you say, okay, you say g after f of x. Now we know that f of x is x plus 3, correct? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find g of x plus 3. This means whatever's in the box, square it and add on 1. So what's going to be is x plus 3 squared plus 1. Now look at this. When x is 1, what happens here? It's going to be 4 squared plus 1, which is 17. When x equals 4, it's going to be 4 plus 3, 7 squared plus 1, which is 50. That's how you do these, okay? So you can use a single rule to work out what a composite function is. Other things that you might be not aware of. Okay, so for example would be this. F after f of x. So for example, if I said f of x equals, let me see, x plus 5. Okay? Now what happens here is you can do two things. F after f of x means do the f of x function twice. So the answer of f of x is x plus 5. Then find out what is f of x plus 5. F of x plus 5 means anywhere you see x, replace it with x plus 5. So it's going to be x plus 5 plus 5, and that is going to be x plus 10. Is everybody happy with that? That's also known as f2x. Now guys, how would I get f3x? Can anybody tell me? f3x would be f of f2x. Do you understand? It means do the f of x function 3 times. We already have the answer for it when it's done twice. So the answer for this one will be f of x plus 10. Because we already know what the answer is for f2x. Okay? So once again, we have to use our original function, replace x with x plus 10. So it's going to be x plus 10 plus 5, and that's going to get us x plus 15. Okay. Starting off, okay, we'll do f after g of 3. Okay, first of all, find out what g3 is. g3 is g squared minus 3 squared minus 1, which is 8. Upon finding out that g3 is 8, now you have to find out what f8 is. f8 is 2 times 8 plus 3, which is 19. Everybody on board so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so try something a bit harder then. Okay, we'll try f of h of a third. H of a third is basically, h of a third is going to be 1 divided by a third. 1 divided by a third is 3. We're basically finding out what f3 is. f3 is going to be 2 times 3 plus 3, which is 9. And lads, that's how hard they get. Okay, what about number 9, you might say? Number 9 can be written two ways. Number 9 can be written as f2 of minus 1. Why can it be written like that? Because you're doing the f function twice. F of minus 1 is going to be 2 times minus 1 plus 3, which is minus 2 plus 3, which is 1. Upon completion of that, we can replace f of minus 1 with 1. We're now doing f1. f1 therefore is 2 times 1 plus 3, which is 5. Okay, moving on. Okay, question 4. H of x is x squared. K of x is 2x plus 5. Solve the function k2 of x equals 7. This means do the k function twice. We're basically doing this. K of x is what, guys? What is k of x? K of x is 2x plus 5. Now it wants me to find out what is k of 2x plus 5. You replace x with 2x plus 5. So it's 2 times 2x plus 5 plus 5. And that's going to get me 4x plus 10 plus 5, which is 4x plus 15. And what do we think about 4x plus 15? 4x plus 15? 4x plus 15 has to equal 7. This means that 4x must equal minus 8. X therefore must be minus 2. We'll do one more. H after k of x. What is k of x, guys? K of x is 2x plus 5. And now you have to find out what the h version of this is. What do we have to do with it? Whatever's in the box? Square it. So it's going to be 2x plus 5 squared, and all of that has to be equal to 9. And what that will mean is 4x squared. When we multiply it out, we're going to multiply 2x plus 5 by 2x plus 5. We get 4x squared plus 20x plus 25 minus 9 equals 0, because we moved the 9 over to your side. 4x squared plus 20x minus 16 equals 0. Plus 16. We're going to get x squared plus 5x plus 4 equals 0. We'll solve a reference number to get x plus 4, x plus 1 equals 0, x equals minus 4, x equals minus 1. Okay, quite easy going from 1 to 6.
Do you check those answers?
Don't need to check it, there's no verify. Now, the next one, f of x and g of x. X is element R, means x can be any number, negative fraction, a positive fraction, it doesn't matter. And k is element q. K element q means it could be a positive or negative number, whole numbers. G of f of 1 equals 2, find the value of k. First of all, find out what f1 is. What's f1? 1 squared minus 4 times 1 plus 1. All equals 2 minus 4, which is minus 2. Upon finding out that f of 1 is minus 2, you're now finding out g of minus 2. G of minus 2 is going to be k times minus 2 plus 5. We know the answer is 2, because it tells us 2. Minus 2k plus 5 equals 2. Minus 2k equals minus 3. K therefore equals 3 over 2. Any questions on that one? Just follow the procedure it lays out for you, really. Okay. Number 10. Okay. Number 10. If f of x is x plus 2, g of x is ax squared plus b. X element R means it can be any number. Fractions, positive, negative numbers, decimals. A, B is element Z. A and B are only allowed to be whole numbers. They're not allowed to be fractions. They're not allowed to be decimals. Okay. What it says is g of f of x. Now, g of f of x is what, guys? If I do f of x is x plus 2. Place x plus 2 into the g function. Now what happens in the g function when we replace x with x plus 2? It's going to be a times x plus 2 squared plus b. That is going to get me a times x squared plus 4x plus 4. Everybody understood? I multiplied out x plus 2 with x plus 2. That's going to get me plus b. We're going to have ax squared plus a 4ax plus 4a plus b. Now guys, this whole thing here has to be equal to what? What does that have to be equal to?
3x squared plus 2x plus 3.
Exactly. Now, I have 3 different types of equation going on here. Red equals red, green equals green, and finally purple equals purple. Now, red equals red will tell me what? A equals 3. Green equals green will also tell me 4a equals 12, and it will just tell me a equals 3. Finally, purple equals purple will give me 4a plus b equals 2. We know that a is 12 plus b equals 2. What does that mean about b? Minus 10. Okay, happy enough. Moving on. Okay. G of x is 6 over x. H of x is 2 divided by x plus 5. X is an element of z. X cannot be equal to 0. Why can x not be equal to 0? Because 6 divided by 0 is undefined. Why can't x be minus 5? Because 2 divided by minus 5 plus 5 is 2 divided by 0, which is once again undefined. The function cannot go by that number. It's an asymptote. The function won't go through that if you draw it out. Now, why is g after, do h of x first, do the g function second. Why is this answer always divisible by 3? Let's find out. Okay. It basically asks me what is the g function when h of x is 2 over x plus 5. It's asking me the g function of 2 over x plus 5. This means replaced with whatever x was, it's now turned into 2 divided by x plus 5. And that's going to equal 6 divided by 2 divided by x plus 5. Basically 2 divided by whatever is in the box. You guys know this, that you bring the fraction up and you turn it upside down. X plus 5 all over 2. Get rid of that there. 6 divided by 2? 3. It's going to be 3 multiplied by x plus 5. Because whatever x plus 5 is, you're always multiplying it by 3. Therefore, whatever number you get will always be divisible by 3. Because if you can divide any of these numbers by 3, the answer will be x plus 5. Okay, it's always going to be divisible by 3. Any number you pick, x equals 0, you get 15. X equals 1, you get 18. X equals 2, you get 21. All these numbers are divisible by 3. That's because you're multiplying whatever answer you have by 3. Therefore, it's divisible by 3. Okay? Now, 15. Very quickly working our way up here, guys. 15. F of x equals x plus 1. G of x equals 2 to the power of x. Show that f of 3 equals g of 2. And then find g f of x and g f of 3. Alright. Alright, guys. G f of 3 is what, guys?
4.
4. G of 2? 4 equals 4. Okay, won't lose any sleep over that one. Okay, now find G after f of x and f after g of x. Now what you're going to find is they're not the same function. So for example, we're looking for G of x plus 1. G of x plus 1 means replace x with x plus 1. So it's going to be x to the power of x plus 1, which in turn is 2 to the power 1 by 2 to the power of x, using your indice rules, 2 times 2 to the power of x. Now, one after that, once we now have to find out what, that is g f of x. We now have to find f g of x. Find the f function of 2 to the power of x. So f of 2 to the power of x. Now what is f of x again?
X plus 1.
X plus 1. So it's going to be 2 to the power of x plus 1. We now want to solve them when they're both equal to each other. So when they're both equal to each other, what we're going to get is 2 by 2 to the power of x equals 2 to the power of x plus 1. Bring the 2 to the power of x over the other side. 2 times 2 to the x minus 2 to the x equals 1. What does that mean? 2y minus y. It's basically the same thing, isn't it? This is going to be 2 to the power of x equals 1. Lads, for those who don't understand, just replace 2 to the power of x with y. What's 2y minus y? Y. So that's what I did there. Okay? Now that that's done, what you're going to get is, what power gives you a value of 1? 0. 2 to the power of 0 is 1. If you forget this, you could always use logs. We'll use logs just for practice sake. Okay, if you forgot, you could do it like this. Bring x to the front. X log 2 equals log 1. And then what we should get is x equals log 1 divided by log 2. And what is log 1? I'm hoping it'll be 0. 0. Okay, so plenty of ways around that. Okay, moving onwards and upwards again. Okay, 17. F of x equals root x minus 1. G of x equals x squared, where x is LR. Find the range of values for which f of x and f after g of x exists. F of x only exists if what happens? Yep. I was asked a question about the language here, right? F of x equals the square root of x minus 1, and g of x equals x squared, where x is the element R. Find the range of values of x for which f of x exists. Let's just concentrate on the first part first. F of x actually exists. Now, if I was to enter this into my calculator function, okay, and I was to try and draw this, for instance, okay, so it existing means you can draw it. It means it has real values, okay? So, example would be the square root of what's x minus 1, alright? Now, I'll do the usual business of, I'll start at like something like minus 4. I'll end at 6, or sorry, I'll end at 3. Now, I'm going to do something different this time. I'm going to do a step of 0.5. No reason other than my diagram matches it. Now, what you're going to notice is error, 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 error. At minus 1, still an error. At minus 0.5, an error. Okay? And then it appears this only starts at 0, 1. Now, just going to recheck that I wrote it down properly. Square root of x minus 1. Okay, so just give me 1 second, guys. Excuse me. If you were to draw this graph, okay, what you could see is that it's undefined all the way until a certain point. When x equals 1, it's 0. X equals 1.5, it's 0.7, and then you can see that it starts to rise. This is shown to you on the graph here. It starts to rise, but all of a sudden this curve, it just stops existing. the line stops, and you're wondering why does the line stop, okay? Now here's the reason why. You can't get the square root, you can't draw the square root of a negative number, okay? So this means that x minus 1, cannot be smaller than 0. And this means that x cannot be less than 1. So any number less than 1, it doesn't exist. And we see this from the graph. So this means that the graph will only exist for values of x greater than or equal to 1. Now, the flip side to this is it now wants f of g of x, okay? And f of g of x is a different function altogether, okay? It's the f value of x squared. It's f of x squared. And that makes it the square root of x squared minus 1. Once again, bear in mind, for this function to exist, what's inside the square brackets has to be positive. This means s squared minus 1 has to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay? This is what type of function again, guys? This will be a u-shaped function. This equation is a u-shaped function. When you solve it, you're going to get x plus 1, x minus 1, difference of two squares less than equals 0. You're going to get x equals minus 1, x equals 1. You have values in between the two values here, minus 1 and 1. You want the values for which it's bigger than 0. So you want the values to be x is bigger than 1, or x is smaller than or equal to minus 1. Okay? Now, if I was to draw this on a graph, and I was to redo this, okay, I can check out my answer here. Now look at this. It exists. I have proper answers when the number is smaller than minus 1. Now look what happens when it goes in between minus 1 and 1. It doesn't exist anymore, does it? And then once it goes back to 1, it starts to exist again because it has to be positive. Okay, so that's how that works. Alright guys, moving on. Number 20. Now, number 20, reasonably difficult question. Okay, so let me show you how to do number 20. So, in question 20, f of x equals x plus 5 divided by 2x minus 1. X is element R. Why is x not allowed to be a half?
It's going to be x plus 5 over 0, which is only 5.
It'd be 2 times a half minus 1, which is 1 minus 1. The bottom can never be 0. That's why it's not allowed to be 2. A half, I mean. Now, upon completion of this, what I ask you to do is f2 of x. This means f after f of x. It means do the f function twice. Do the f function of x plus 5 over 2x minus 1. Now do you know what this means? Anywhere I see an x, I have to replace it with x plus 5 over 2x minus 1 plus 5, and then I have another fraction underneath which says 2 times x plus 5 over 2x minus 1 minus 1. Now look what happens here. Okay, I'm going to introduce another 2x minus 1 over here. I'm going to introduce a 2x minus 1 on top. Likewise, I'm going to do a 2x minus 1 here and a 2x minus 1 here. Just to make sure they have the same denominator, top and bottom. Upon completion of this, we're going to have is x plus 5. This is going to be 10x minus 5, isn't it? Now what's x plus 5 plus 10x minus 5? Just 11x, right? Over 2x minus 1. And big line. Now we're on the bottom part here. What's this? It's going to be 2x plus minus 2x minus 1. 2x's cancel. I'm going to get 11 over. Now, what happens when I bring this up to the top? Turn it upside down. Cancel. Cancel. I say that's not 11. That's a 2x minus 1. Okay. 11x over 11?
1x.
X. Okay? Now that's handy enough, right? Now, that means that, this means that f2 of x is what? f2 of x is x. When you do the function twice, you get x. Now guys, what does f3 of x mean? f3x. What does f3x mean? F of x 3 times. Or f after you've done it twice. And when we do it twice, we know the answer is x. So it's the same answer as the original function. Yeah? Now, what about f4 of x, guys? What about f4? f4 of x is the same thing as f4 of x is the same thing as f bracket f3x, yeah? And that's the same thing as f of x plus 5 over 2x minus 1, because that's what f3x was. And have we already done this? And what did we get? X. Oh, it's going around in circles now, isn't it? So look at this. F of x, f1, sorry guys, f1, which is f of x, is x plus 5 over 2x minus 1. f2 is x. f3 is back where it was. f4 is x. What's f5?
X plus 5 over 2x plus 6.
You're getting the gist now, aren't you? Yeah. Odd numbers are back to the original. Even numbers are all going to be the same as f2. So, what happens then, guys? What do we think of f12? What do you think the answer for f12 is? X. f71? Okay, so x plus 5 over 2x minus 1. Now, find an expression for f of 2n where n is the element n. Alright, n is a natural number. Okay? Write down natural numbers for me. What are natural numbers? Start off with the very first natural number.
0.
1, 0 is not included. All the way up. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, that's n. We're asked for 2n. 2n means 2, 4, 6, all the way up. Even numbers. What did we say f of any even number is? X, isn't it? So the expression for f of 2n by x, because they're all even, the answer has to be x. Now what about this one? 2n minus 1. What's 2n minus 1 guaranteed to be? Odd. Because it's going to be 1, 3, 5, all the way up. So what can we say about this one then? The answer is going to be x plus 5 over 2x minus 1. It's basically a complicated way of saying express the answer when f is even, f of 2, f of 4, f of 6, or when it's odd, f of 1, f of 3, f of 5, f of 7. Now guys, it then says, hence solve this equation. How do I solve this equation? What do I say f of even is? Even is x. Odd is x plus 5 over 2x minus 1. And the answer has to be minus 5. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by 2x minus 1 over 2x minus 1. This side is going to be 2x minus 1 over 2x minus 1. 2x minus 1's cancel. And we're going to get 2x squared minus x plus 5 equals minus 10x plus 5. What we're then going to get is the 5's cancel on both sides, the x's cancel, and we're going to get 2x squared plus 10x equals 0, 2x bracket x plus 5 equals 0, x equals 0 or x equals minus 5. Okay. Now, I think that says n equals 1. Alright guys, next question. You haven't seen this before, okay? So I'll let you in on what it means now. But this one here means it's the following. This one here means sum. Okay? So for example, if I had people in the class, 5 students, okay? And the 5 students got 10, 15, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 euro. And this variable was called x. The sum of x would mean add them all together. Now, if I had, for instance, it would only mean that if I said this, 5 on top and start at the first person. Do you understand what this language means? Start at the first person's value, add up all 5 people's values together. So the answer would be 25 plus 25, it would be 100. The answer would be 100 when you add them all together. I'm going to manipulate this question in the following way. I'm going to do a quick manipulation. You guys got to tell me what the answer is. If I said 4 on top and x equals 1 on the bottom, what would be the answer this time? 70, because you're excluding the last answer. And what happens if I did this? X equals 2. You'd start at the second person and add it down to 4, and you'd get an answer of 60. Perfect. You're brilliant at the language now. So lads, look at this. Okay? This means out of the first 40, okay, n is 40, okay? So if n is 40 and you're starting at 1, what does n equal 1 get you? N equals 1 gets you f2. N equals 2 gets you f4. f2 is what? X. f4 is x. Do you understand? We're going to keep going down. And then eventually we're going to end up at n equals 40. n40 gets us f80, which is also x. How many of them do we have in total? 40 of them. 40 x's added together. 40x is the answer. Okay? This one is the same deal. Okay? But the only part you might get confused on is the first part. Okay? So, in the first part, guys, explain why 12 over 9x minus 15 is the same as 12 into 15 minus 9x is equal to 4 divided by 5 minus 3x. Well, look at this, guys. Step 1. Multiply the top and bottom by minus 1. What happens when you multiply the top and bottom by minus 1?
You get 42.
12 over minus 9x plus 15. And that's the same thing as 12 over 15 minus 9x. Then, they're all divisible by 3. 3 bracket 4. 3 bracket 5 minus 3x. The 3's cancel. And that's the same as 4 over 5 minus 3x. Okay? It's going to ask you to go through the exact same thing as last time. The only good thing about this one is that we know we only have to do it twice, don't we? So, let's find out what f2 is. f2 is f after f of x. f2 basically means f of 2x minus 4 over x. Now we have to put it into the big equation, replacing the x's with the 2x minus 4. It's going to be bracket x, 2x minus 4 all over x minus 4, bracket 2x minus 4 all over x. Now, what we're going to get here, guys, is we're going to get I'm going to put an x on the bottom here, like so. We're going to get 4x minus 8 minus 4x all over x. What's it going to... Alright, sorry guys. It's all over x. And then on the bottom it's going to be 2x minus 4 all over x. Now look at this, guys. 4x is cancelled. Okay. And what I'm going to have here is I'm going to have bring this up and turn it upside down. So you have minus 8 over x equals x over 2x minus 4. Keep in mind the first question. The x's cancel. I'm going to multiply top and bottom by minus 1. I'm going to get 8 over 4 minus 2x. Then I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 2. I'm going to get 4, 2 minus x. Everybody happy with that? Now, that's what f2x is. Is everybody happy with that? So, f2x is going to be 4 minus 2 over x. Now guys, there's a problem with this now. We now have to find out what f3x is. So, f3x is done this way. f3x is going to be f of f2x. And we know that f2x is 4 bracket 2 minus x. Now we have to put that in every x position there is in the f function. So what's the f function again? 2x minus 4 over x. Okay, so 2x minus 4 all over x. So look at this, guys. It's going to be 2 times 4 bracket 2 minus x minus 4 all over 4 bracket 2 minus x. Multiply top and bottom by 2 minus x to make sure they have the same denominator. Upon completion of that, we're going to get 8 over 2 minus x minus, what's that going to be? Minus, we'll give it the 1 denominator. That'll probably be the smart call here. Okay, sorry lads, just give me 1 second there. 2 minus x, and this here is going to be this here is going to be 8, and then it's going to be 8, and that's going to be 4 times 2, which is minus 8 plus 4x. Okay, so 8 minus 8 plus 4x all over 2 minus x, and then on the bottom it's going to be 4 minus 2 minus x. So what we're going to get is 4x, you looking? 4x over 2 minus x, bring this fraction to the top, turn it upside down, 2 minus x over 4. And all of a sudden they cancel, that cancels, and it comes back to x. We've completed one cycle now, haven't we? Because if it goes back to x, then look what happens now, guys, okay? Alright. F2. So look at the cycle now, okay? F1. F1 of x is, was that a 4, guys, was it? So just give me seconds. Yeah, it was a 4. Now, look at the following. F1 or f of x is what, guys? F1 is 2x minus 4 all over x. F2 is 4 minus 2 over x. F3 is x. What does that mean F4 is going to be? It's going to get sent back to 4 minus 2 minus x. Okay. What's F5 going to be? Sorry? F5 is going to be x. So you can see that it's a cycle. Okay? And how much does a cycle take? 1, 2. So what's the difference between this one and this one? It's 2 in the difference, isn't it? So let's figure out. Sorry guys, just give me a second here. Sorry guys, we missed one. Excuse me, we missed one. We missed one. It's not right. Look, F4 is the same thing as F of F3. And F3 is, it's the same thing, F4 is the same thing as F of X. And F of X is 2x minus 4 all over X. And then look at the next one, F2. F2 is going to be the same thing as F5. F5 is going to be 4 minus 2 minus X. And then finally F6 completes the circle back to X again. So look what happens here, guys. It completes a rotation every 3. So what can we say F5 is? F5 is 4 minus 4 over 2 minus X. What's F6? Back to X. And then finally, this one here. 3n minus 2. What is 3n minus 2? Remember, n equals 1, 2, or 3. So what is 3n minus 2? What numbers do 3n minus 2 represent? It represents 1, and then 4, after 4, 1, 4, and 7. 1, 4, and 7 is 2x minus 4 over x. 2x minus 4 over x. So this one here is going to be 2x minus 4 all over x. What does 3n minus 1 represent? 3n minus 1 represents 2, 5, and 8. When you replace the numbers in, replace n with 1, 2, and 3, and you get 2, 5, and 8. And the answer for 2, 5, and 8 is 4 minus 2 minus x, and then 5 is 4 bracket 2 minus x over 2. So that's 4 over 2 minus x. Finally, f of 3n. What does 3n represent? 3, 6, 9, and 12. So 3, 6, 9, and 12, what do they represent? X. So this one here is going to be x. Finally, last part. Evaluate the sum of f of 3n x when x equals 2. Okay, so here's what we do here. N equals 10. So n equals 1, n equals 2, all the way down to n equals 10. Okay, what does 3n represent then? 3, 6, all the way down to 30. Because n is 10, 3n is 30. Now, what do we know about 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30? What's their values? They're all going to be x. So how many x's do I have? Have 10 of them. So the whole answer is going to be 10x. And then it says x equals 2. That will mean 20. Okay, guys.